Christ is king and divorce is evil and was never part of the design. This past weekend, I was volunteering Christian carnival of sorts, I suppose you could say. And prior to me starting doing my task, I heard a young girl being carried away by her father screaming. It was his weekend with her. This is a common thing, of course, across our country where kids spend some time with one parent, some time with another, and they're internally screaming over it this whole time. It's not a new phenomenon, right? But let's talk about it because we never do, and we should. So Matthew 19, the Pharisees are challenging Christ. Why then did Moses command that a man give his wife a certificate of divorce and send her away? Jesus, of course, the God of everything, replied, Moses permitted you to divorce your wives because your hearts were hard, but it was not this way from the beginning. I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife except for sexual immorality and marries another woman commits adultery. Because your hearts were hard. Because you guys were terrible. Because you couldn't own up to the relationships which you started. You couldn't hold fast to a commitment which you once made. Because you were foolish. Because you were sinful. Because you couldn't figure out love. Because you couldn't find healing in me rather than chase your own selfish desires. Because of this, he allowed you to use a certificate of divorce. From the beginning, it was not so. And let's just look at some data here. U.S. divorce rates over time. So let's look at this. Late 19th century, look how low that is. And we see some increases and decreases here. But even in on the lower side, still, 6 or 7 times, so 6 times what it was in the late 19th century. Why is that? There's a few things, right? I mean, women begun working in this period. There's the Great Society. There's welfare, right? There's all these different sorts of reasons. Regardless, divorce is a cancer that creates immense damage in children from an early age, and people should talk about it a little bit, because it's not just all these social ills that people will get into. They're coming from somewhere, right? Look at this. Drug overdoses. Back whenever I was 9 years old, we're sitting around here, and I tried to dig up data from earlier 1900s, 1800s. I gotta bet it's close to zero. I gotta bet whenever divorce is this low, I gotta bet you that drug overdoses are very low. I gotta bet drug overdoses are next to zero whenever divorces are next to zero. I gotta bet that when church attendance was way higher than this, when church attendance was way up here, I gotta bet that's whenever divorce rates were way down here. And drug overdose rates were way down here, right? So there's all these social ills, all these social plagues from us not following Christ. And there's some data out there that, Christians will divorce at the same rates as people in aggregate, because in that those data sets, they include Christians in name only, people who, never go to church, don't read the Bible every day, don't engage in charity, people who call themselves Christians, but, whenever the sheep and goats are separated, whenever Jesus is saying, what you did unto the least of these, you've done unto me. I was hungry and you did not feed me. He's going to be talking to those Christians in name only, those people who live like the world, you know, and whenever you separate those people out, whenever you account just for Christians who attend church regularly, who are in the Word every day, their divorce rates are significantly lower. I saw something by a psychologist recently on this. Pastor Jeff Durbin of Apologia interviewed her. I'll try to throw something in the description here on that. But yeah, so stop it. Stop it. Just stop it. Divorce is evil. Jesus said so. It was never part of his design. So cut it out. Christ is king and every knee will bow. Absolutely.